Welcome to another week of Libertarians at Large. My name is Eric Rautzep, and this is where we discuss the week in news and express a libertarian point of view on the goings-on in our nation and abroad. We welcome your comments and questions in the chat box, so feel free to comment regularly. We may share your comment on the air. This week, I'm joined by my fellow members at large, Laura Ebke and Valerie Sarwak. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Oh, what a week. What a week. In the share that I did, I mentioned the gas shortage, the pharaohs that are marching through Egypt, which I think is a really fun story, and there's just it never ends. It never ends. But yeah. So how's the week been for you?
Well, the sun rises here extremely early, and so everybody's not been sleeping very good, and it doesn't set until after 8 now. So we've got like 16 hours of daylight already. So, August and June are going to be great. So going to get some blackout curtains up here pretty soon, since this is the first summer that we've been in the new house. But otherwise, yeah, no, that's a good sign, though. I'm ready for spring, ready for summer.
That's good.
So I was telling you before the show that that we got a notification just a little while ago that the Crete Public Schools, which is where I live, as of tomorrow afternoon, are changing their standards for masking and stuff like that, which is really good because my son graduates on Sunday, and as of 1:45 tomorrow afternoon, which is the last day of school, and it's an early dismissal, right? But as soon as the kids are out of the building, all of the Crete Public Schools locations are now mask optional, which means that the kids who are going to graduate can graduate without their masks on, which is nice.
Yeah.
In many ways. The other exciting thing was earlier this week, on Tuesday night, I think it was, we had live band concerts. So in our part of the world, things are turning into something closer to normal.
And that's awesome. And but our special guest for the week has just managed to join us after some technical difficulties. I'd like to introduce Van Strawder. How are you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little quiet, but we can hear you.
Can you hear me better or no?
About the same.
It's safe.
Hopefully everyone can hear me loud and clear.
Good enough.
So, man, you're doing some amazing things out in Las Vegas, especially with youth programs and stuff like that. How's everything going on out there in Vegas?
Man, it's going great. In June, we're about to open full 100%. Everything's wide open in Vegas. Everyone's coming out here now. Prices of hotels going up, gambling going up. The strip is crowded, and the strip clubs are crowded. I mean, just everything in Vegas is going on and happening. The marijuana dispensaries are growing, and we just out here just fighting for change. How libertarians do. Freedom, justice, equality, and liberty for all. We're just trying to get it. So, as far as the Libertarian Party, there's a lot of changes going on. I haven't been able to.
Actually, Dan, I'm going to take you off the broadcast because it's getting really quiet and there's a lot of background noise. So if you get a chance, give me a thumbs up if we think we've solved the technical difficulties. I do apologize.
Okay. All right.
Well, that sounded a little bit better.
I hope we can get his feedback there. Sometimes it's a little difficult when doing that on the move there. So I totally understand. Yeah. But hey, I'm sure he's fighting the fight for liberty. So that's an important aspect there.
Yeah, I just saw today they were doing the concerts on Mandalay Bay Beach. They just started opening those back up, and I got a little bit nostalgic. We got married at Mandalay Bay, so I was like, oh, I'd like to go back, have an anniversary trip.
We're Alex and I were trying to figure out our honeymoon 2.0 ideas because obviously Malta is not happening right now. So we're trying to figure out the new destination for the honeymoon, which is going to be interesting. But Jared has a question for you, Valerie. How much has ASC raised so far?
The affiliate support committee is sitting pretty at $10,241, I think. So we're just about $4,800 short of our year goal. So I'm going to make some phone calls before the end of this month and hopefully get it completely funded before the LNC meeting in June. I just need $4,800. If anybody out there has got $4,800.
Well, we've got a pledge for 25, so there you go.
Every bit helps.
We're nibbling away at it already. So
you better run the link.
Oh yeah, I'll get it for you and put it in the private chat. Thank you. And we announced the winner of the Affiliate in the Box contest. It was Morgan County, Indiana. And they have already been awarded their prize, and the runners-up are going to be getting a small consolation prize because they were all so good.
Great.
Sorry.
So we have a question from Daniel May. And I'm trying to... Face mask rules got to go, have seizures, couldn't have wear on all the time, can't get COVID-19 shot. Eric routes up, what should I do? Well, like any vaccine, I would say that not everyone has to get it. If you're medically incapable of getting the vaccine, don't get it. Yeah. Don't do something that's going to harm you. We want you around. We want you fighting for liberty. We want you making a difference. So if you're unable to get it, don't get it.
Or if you don't want to, don't get it.
Yeah, or if you don't want to, don't get it. It is your choice. It is your body, and what you put into it is your choice. And I think that applies to anything and everything.
Absolutely. And I think that what this gets to is, yes, everybody ought to have the choice, but no matter what your choice, whether to get the vaccine or not get the vaccine, or wear a mask or not wear a mask, be prepared to live with the consequences without whining about it, right? So if you get sick, you can't complain, that you didn't know. So I mean, I think that with freedom comes a level of responsibility for the consequences or non-consequences of your actions.
Yeah, I think there's a small divide in libertarianism where your freedom doesn't end at your nose. It continues out because whatever you do indirectly or directly impacts other people, and a lot of people don't think of that.
There was a great story in the where did I see it? In the Atlantic, maybe? I don't know, somewhere today. Well, it was, I think it was actually last week, but I just saw it today, where they talked about how masking and social distancing and all that sort of stuff was very necessary, or many believed that it was very necessary last year, as we were just trying to figure out what COVID was all about and how dangerous it was. But that there's a certain element, and they said, the progressive element that refuses to say, okay, we figured this out, now we can back off. That there are some people out there who are still in this you have to wear a mask forever routine, or don't close. They had the signs the hashtag not until it's safe or something like that, for opening schools. We went the whole year in schools here in Crete, full time. And, it's because they were careful,
Mhm.
Well, and the
Yeah.
CDC came out today and they said if you have been vaccinated with any of the vaccines that have been approved in the United States, and you are 2 weeks past your vaccination date, you don't have to wear a mask any longer. So we'll see.
Yep. Time to go.
It's going to be interesting. Let's see if state governors who have been touting the CDC since the beginning are actually going to follow this one, because they should. It is time to bring this to an end. And if you have been vaccinated, don't wear a mask. It's that simple.
Well, and I think that the fact of the matter is that within the next couple of weeks, certainly by the middle of June, anybody who wants to be vaccinated can be, except for those who are very young. I mean, we've even opened up, we've now opened up the 12 to 16-year-olds.
Yep.
So anybody who really wants to be vaccinated can be. And at this point, if you haven't been and you don't, my attitude is if you haven't been, you're taking that risk on yourself.
Right.
For better or worse, it may be a risk either way, but if there is no reason once the vaccine,
life is a series of risks.
Yeah, it is. But there's
you
no
choose
reason.
the risks that are right for you, and you move forward.
But there's no reason.
Dominic Zimmerman actually had a great comment. It's like it's everyone's right to choose. He's not going to get it, but he's not going to get upset if people don't want to associate with him, or be let back into the backstage of a concert if he doesn't get it.
Amen. Yep. I saw somebody say the same thing today, and I was like, "This is what the attitude needs to be. Like, I don't care if you're not going to get it, whatever. But once you say like, you have to let me into your business, and I don't care what you say, or you're forging documents, which nobody's even doing COVID passports. But if you know that it's your choice, but it's also the business's choice if they want to choose to do business with you, we're cool, we're fine. But speaking of the CDC, I saw today on NPR, like 51% of Americans don't trust the CDC. And,
shocker. Oh,
I know.
No.
Maybe you didn't
still
lie.
The Americans don't trust part of the alphabet soup? No.
Perhaps if you had been a tad bit more truthful at the beginning, we wouldn't be in the situation where nobody believes anything you say now. So,
Pish.
Yeah, 50%.
Oh. Yeah. So so my favorite cute story, and I don't know if anyone's heard it. Yes, Bob, we're always taking questions. Bob, you are welcome to ask a question, and all of our listeners are welcome to ask a question, and we may put it on the air. I don't know if anyone else has heard the really cute story, but the new museum in Cairo has opened from the old museum, which was no longer fire safe, and there were structural problems and all of that stuff. So the city of Cairo put on a parade of all the mummified pharaohs, and it was the first time they actually had people that were of the ancient religion of Egypt, and they did the procession, and they went through the town, and they had palm reeds everywhere. I thought it was just an absolutely adorable story that they were following the old traditions and brought all the pharaohs back through the streets of Cairo, and all of that. I don't know. Maybe that's me just being a sucker, but I thought it was amazingly cute.
I did not see that.
Yeah,
I didn't either, and I was confused.
International news.
I was confused when I saw the promotions about pharaohs marching through Egypt, and I'm going, Okay.
Yeah.
Eric's going to have to explain this one to me. So.
Yeah, I kind of figured it was kind of my heartwarming story of the week that I saw, and the Egyptian government did not pay a dime for it. It was done completely by the museums of Egypt. So yeah, no, the city government was not involved, nor was the government of Egypt, even though I believe the Department of Egyptology in the main they do get government grants, but they are not government funded. They're actually funded by independent donors largely, but not entirely. So, Jared, what's up next? Locusts? Yeah, we're gonna go through the seven deadly the seven plagues of Egypt here. Yes. Well, I don't know what any other news stories that have tickled a funny bone or have warmed your heart, or just been absolutely crazy. I'm
trying to think. I just saw that CDC one today, and I was listening to the news this morning. Oh, the only one that I remember from the news this morning was DK Metcalf running the 100-meter dash, the football player, and he did it. He did the Olympic trials. This has nothing to do with this libertarianism, so I'm going to stop talking.
So one of my favorite, and actually Laura and I were discussing this before. So I'm in North Carolina, and the gas shortage. I'm in the middle of the gas shortage. 75% of our gas stations are out of gas.
70%?
75% of our gas stations are empty.
Oh my God.
But when there is a gas station, you find people with shopping bags filling up shopping bags with gasoline. Yeah, I know. That's the face. That's the face right there, Valerie. Yes, that is.
You not go to school.
I know. Well, so gasoline is a petroleum product. Plastic bags are a petroleum product. There are many types of plastic that gasoline will dissolve. So that's why it needs to be an approved gasoline container. Yeah, so there's got to be some craziness going on. There's actually a video of someone who filled up with clear plastic garbage bags, and the gas started pouring out of their trunk. Not only probably because the bag started leaking, but they were probably also being dissolved by the gasoline. So. Yeah, that's the insanity that is the Raleigh-Durham area.
That's going to be really bad. If you've got stuff leaking in your trunk, that smell's going to stick with you.
Oh yeah,
forever. That gas smell. I mean, you're not going to be able to drive anywhere, and you'll never be able to sell that car.
No.
It'll be awful.
No, that's going to
stink. Guy with a cigarette. Your car is going to blow up.
Not good.
No.
Or a really hot day. I mean, spontaneous combustion. You might get some, I don't know.
Gasoline vapors are nothing to joke around about. They are extremely explosive. I mean, they are not Hollywood explosive. Let's be honest. But they will catch fire very, very quickly. And you're not going to shoot yourself to kingdom come like you see in Hollywood, but it's still not going to be a good day at all.
Panic buying gas. Oof. I am happy that
panic is real. So I'll share my preparation. So I'm going to Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh, for the Pennsylvania State Convention this weekend. I'm leaving tomorrow, just like you are, Valerie. But my preparation, because of all the gas station shutdowns, I have a full tank of gas, and I am traveling with 15 gallons in approved gasoline containers that will not dissolve when you put the gasoline in there. But I think this also opens up a very important libertarian discussion on price gouging.
Mm-hmm.
Because if price gouging was in effect, the panic like this wouldn't have occurred.
Right.
And people would only be buying what they need. Mm-hmm. It is a regulatory aspect of the free market. And what does everyone else think?
So I always thought it's because it sounds mean and it sounds nasty. So I hate that word. I prefer the Uber term of surge pricing.
Yes.
But I always thought it was like terrible and bad. And then Dan Fishman, our former executive director, explained it to me. And I was like, oh, well, yes, I'm on board with surge pricing or price surging, whatever. And absolutely, when you were telling me that you had 15 extra gallons of gas, I was thinking, if you find somebody broken down on the side of the road before you get to Virginia, you could probably sell it for like $7 a gallon.
There's actually on Facebook Marketplace, there are people selling gas on the Facebook Marketplace at I want to say $16 a gallon.
Woo!
And some of them are selling out. So yeah. It is insane. So we have another question, and this one's from Bob. We'll take it in a completely different direction. Since you guys are libertarian, do you really think we should abolish the post office? Does anyone want to weigh in first?
Laura, you're rural.
I am rural. Well, I mean, I think the post office has failed in recent years in many ways, but it does provide a service in many places that would not otherwise, would probably not otherwise happen, especially in rural areas. The thing is that the service that you get is not as good as it was, 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. The other thing is that it's become less necessary. I got my mail today, and really there was, out of a mailbox full of stuff, there was one piece of mail in it that I really needed, and it was, a graduation card for my son. It was, so you get a lot more junk. On the other hand, so, I mean, I guess the question is whether or not, UPS can handle our packages. They could handle important stuff. So could FedEx, and there would be others that would, spring up. The question is whether or not, the public is, whether people are willing to pay the prices that those, that those companies would require for daily delivery. And that's the thing that, I get something from UPS a couple of times a week, but I get my mail every day, and even if it's not something that I need. So, I mean, it's tough. I don't think it's, and maybe Eric or Valerie, this, I don't think that the federal government is subsidizing the post office much anymore, is it?
Only their retirement program. So the post office is actually partially personally owned. It's 49% privately owned. 51% is still owned by the federal government. And they are given a litany of hoops to jump through by Congress. And that's where a large part of the problem comes in. Of course, well, there's a whole nother postal conversation I could have, because technically the post office is actually, according to the Constitution, the post office should actually be in charge of the interstate highway system. But
that'd be bad.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting. It would be interesting. I'm not sure if they're currently equipped to handle that. But no, actually, the entire Department of Transportation should actually be under the post office, according to the Constitution. But that was broken out very early days, even by Eisenhower. So, no, it should. I think the post office needs to exist. I don't think Congress needs to have its fingers in it. I think the post office should be self-determinate. If we take England, if we take Germany, if we take, I think Norway, but it might be Sweden. It's one of the Nordic countries. They have privatized their post office. They've actually seen reductions in the postal rates. You don't get your mail every day. You usually get it every other day. But it is now better funded, better run, and there is less corruption and graft, especially now that we have defense contractors winning contracts for thousands and thousands and thousands of mail carrying letters, vehicles that even the post office doesn't want. And it's all because of congressional oversight. Is really what it is.
I think we could cut down mail delivery to 3 times a week in this country. Like, if you're getting something that's a high priority, then have it sent priority mail, pay for the high priority mail. But I used to be in the mindset of just get rid of it. It's stupid and we'll privatize everything. But then, that's why I asked Laura to speak first, because I'm not rural and I can get things if I need to pretty quickly. And that was the thing, people who live on farms won't ever get mail. Yep. And that's not fair either. So that's one of those things where we have to weigh the benefits and the risks, or the benefits and the other side of that, and see what makes the most sense. But 100% privatization, and the retirement fund is out of control. Yep. Like, you don't even have to work for the post office that long to get a fully funded retirement. And sometimes I'm like, if it didn't snow here, I would just be like, okay, fine, I'll be a mail carrier, get a retirement, get a sweet retirement, and then call it a day.
It's ridiculous. And Congress mandates that they have a unfunded retirement program. So basically operates just like Social Security. The people that are paying for their retirement today are the ones who are paying the retirement funds of those who have already retired. Yeah. So it's dangerous. It's a really bad way to run a retirement fund, and that's what has caused the post office their shortfall. 98% of the postal shortfall is not from daily operations, but entirely from their retirement package.
So David Davis says getting rid of Saturday delivery would put them in the black, and that may be true. Mm-hmm. But I think there's something in statute that says that there can be no more than 2 consecutive days without mail. And so they maintain the Saturday delivery because you have all of these federal holidays that fall on Monday.
Yep.
And so
actually, that's why, you're right. There is a congressional law. It's not in the Constitution, but it is a congressional law that you cannot go more than 2 days without mail service, unless of extenuating circumstances. Mm-hmm. That's why, actually, the post office is talking about doing away with Wednesday service.
I hadn't seen that, but
it's early days of discussion. I know that I've heard that there's internal memos about it. I don't think it's gone very far, and I don't think it will. But to them, that's the most logical and best solution that they can come up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
We're getting some interesting questions all over the.
Yeah.
Pros and cons of unions.
Don't get Eric started on unions.
I know. I'm going to remain silent on this one because I have pontificated on unions quite a bit in the past. But would either of you like to take the union conversation, and I will remain silent on this?
You should talk about it. Somebody asked me, do you know any good books about the libertarian case for unions and collective bargaining? And I said, look, I don't, but you just talk to Eric Rautzep and he'll tell you everything. You'll be a true believer.
Actually, I know exactly who you referred because they did end up contacting me, and we had a 3-day conversation, and it was a good one. We went all the way around on the conversation of unions. I'm a big supporter of unions. I love unions. I do think that we are handling unions in this country the wrong way. If you know your tax law, they are currently handled as 501c6s. But I think we really need to handle them more like 501c3s.
Mhm.
And yeah, yes, they should be a tax-free organization, but they cannot have political sway. They can't endorse. They need to get out of the political arena other than issue papers. That's going to take a lot of the wind out of their sails and actually in a political arena, but put them back in the arena of actually protecting workers and collective bargaining, which is totally within the rights of every single worker who voluntarily joins a union, and no union should ever be forced upon anybody. But no, I think unions are definitely a very important part of the capitalist society. And yeah, that is my opinion on it in a nutshell.
I generally agree with you, Eric. I mean, I think that the unions have historically served an important function. I do think that they are far too politically powerful. As one who has been fighting a few unions recently on some occupational licensing stuff, they have too much power politically. I think that in the private sector, I think they're fine. I'm not a big fan of public sector unions. I think that they I don't inherently oppose them, but I think that they have entirely too much power at the bargaining table and can cause real disruptions to I mean, if we're going to pay taxes for public services, I want the public services, right?
Yep.
They can cause real problems from that standpoint. Plus, in some places like I don't know, Nebraska has what we call the Commission of Industrial Relations, and the public sector it keeps the public sector unions from being able to strike, but it's because we have this separate commission that tells local school boards and city councils and so forth how much they have to pay their workers if there's a dispute between in salary contracts. So I mean, I think there are pluses and minuses to unions, but the public sector ones can be problematic from the standpoint of the public that's paying the bills. So
Blake Smitty also
absolutely.
asked a fun little question. What is your opinion on machine guns? As a libertarian, does anyone want to field that question?
Okay, so when I was in the legislature, I had a friend who is a collector, right? He's got a special collector's license for an assortment of guns, right? And he had this old it was a machine gun. He had he had a machine gun. He lived out on a farm. He says, "You want to shoot it?" I said, "Yeah." And it was a kick, should people? Do we want lots of people to have them? Okay. I mean, that's one of those things that it is a it is I don't want my kids to have them. Where did Eric go? But
where did he?
I don't want my kids to have them. But by the same token, they are fun to shoot for sure.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, my opinion on guns is I like my guns like I like my immigrants, undocumented, and that's all I have to say about it. So,
actually, he had more than one machine gun, but I only shot one of them, Jared. The one that I shot was a Korean one, I think. It was from the Korean War era, but it was pretty fun.
Matt has a question. At an LP meeting last night, I mentioned the Capitol and was told it wasn't, where'd he go? Wasn't a storming. It wasn't a big deal. Am I in the wrong party? Should I change my affiliation, give up my precinct delegation? There's a weird thing going on right now inside of the party. This is strictly my opinion, where some people think that the biggest enemy in the whole world is the state, and killing anybody in their to rid the state is also okay. I am not in that camp. I don't think anyone on this show is in that camp. I think we all believe that there was an insurrection and we're not cool with that. But there are people that are on the other side of that. So please stay, because I think you would find the majority of the party would agree with my colleagues here.
Well, and I think that it's important for us to have people of diverse opinions. I mean, I think that that's
Yes.
where our strength is, even though most of us, it pushes us a little further, and it makes us, it makes us think. And I think anytime that you get conflicting opinions within an organization, if you're all really pulling in the same direction, I think that's a good thing. We are, there's a lot of varieties of libertarians out there, and we don't all have to be, we're all going in the same direction. We may not all be going the same speed, but we're going in the same direction. So we're not the enemy. And so I think that it's do we think that the insurrection was a good thing? I'm not a big fan of it. I think that it was scary, and I don't think that I'm not for the state, but I'm not also for killing people. So,
yeah, same.
Do you know what time it is?
It must be that time.
It must be that time. It is the time for the Washington Weekly News Quiz, brought to us by PBS.
Woohoo!
So select all that apply. To prevent another pandemic, which of the following are part of the suggested reforms compiled by WHO's Independent Panel for Pandemic Preparedness?
Oh, Jesus.
The creation of a disease surveillance system that publishes information. Creation of a new Global Threats Council. Classify vaccines as a public good.
I think the last one, and that's the only one I'm certain of.
Well, we've already got a disease surveillance system, right?
Well, that's through the United Nations. This would be through the WHO.
World Health Organization is an offshoot of the United Nations, isn't it?
I thought they broke away entirely.
Oh, maybe they did. I don't know.
I mean, why are they acting like we're going to have a pandemic next year? I'm sorry. I'm not.
Oh, we
So
might.
the WHO has an office at the United Nations,
Okay.
and they have a relationship, but they are not actually the same.
Okay.
I'm saying, I don't know. But you know what? That's a great point, because the United Nations already does have a disease surveillance.
A creation of a new Global Threats Council, that sounds like something they would do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Jared thinks it's all of them. I kind of think it could be.
Yeah. You know what? I think Jared's right. Let's go all of them.
Oh, wow. Trick
Jared
question.
for the win again. We've kind of covered COVID tonight, so I'm just going to kind of skip to the next question, unless if anyone else wants to say anything about the WHO or anything.
No.
That was an emphatic no by Valerie. We are moving forward.
Right.
The Biden administration approved which of the following efforts as part of the Biden's climate goals? Protections against air pollution, creation of solar panel manufacturers, and the first large-scale offshore wind project in the United States.
The wind thing is definitely happening because it's in Martha's Vineyard.
Yes.
And I hear that all the time here.
No, I bet people don't like that.
Yeah, the federal government's forcing it down the throats of Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah.
Yep. Vineyard Wind 1. Yes.
And they apparently tried to do it like 10 years ago or something privately. And they had a big fight of the people who live in Martha's Vineyard. Like, no, we don't want to look at this. And now it's, well, you don't have a choice.
Yep.
So
The U.S. Department of the Interior is forcing it down Massachusetts' throat and the landowners of Martha's Vineyards. And yeah, it's interesting.
it's super interesting to me that Trump is so mad about this because he basically was like ripping down people's homes in Atlantic City to build casinos. And, but he's like, I can't believe this is happening. Dude, you did the same thing, but you weren't even the president at that time. You were
Trump has used eminent domain all over the world. I mean, Trump and intimate domain are like besties. They are. It's actually kind of sad. But yeah, no, this is. I agree that we need. I don't want the government to pay for it, but
no.
I think we do need to diversify our energy profile. I think offshore wind farms have been proven around the world that they work. I think it's time that the United States start investing it. But if landowners don't want it in their area, then don't build it in that area and find somewhere else. And yet the federal government sees fit to shove it down everyone's throat. I don't get it.
I live in a part of the country where there are a lot of wind farms.
Yeah.
And they just keep expanding. And there are a lot of people who really don't like that. You get the stories. In my legislative district, we have, 3 or 4 different wind farms, and everybody who didn't sell complains about it. Or who didn't lease the property to the wind farms complains about it, and they complain about the sound and the dead birds and the lights that are flashing in their windows and all sorts of other things. I'm not a great fan of the wind farms, but I really like the idea of expanding our nuclear capabilities.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely need to invest in nuclear, especially with the new technologies that have been green-lighted by the Department of Energy, which, again, I'm not a fan of the Department of Energy, but the fact that they're green-lighted and able to be built in the United States just makes it more reason that we need more nuclear in this country.
You're going to, I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but you're going to get a whole lot more bang for the buck, so to speak, a lot more energy for the buck if over the long term, because the windmills, people complain about the nuclear spent fuel and things like that, although they've found new ways to kind of recycle that and get
which is illegal in the United States.
Yeah. But people don't realize what a problem these windmills are, because they have a very limited lifespan, and once they're done, what happens to them? I mean, then the new part is, then they either just rot in the field,
Right.
they stay there in the field and are just eyesores as they fall apart, piece by piece, or else they try to put them in landfills, because most of them are made of at least a significant amount of fiberglass, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, we are making some significant progress in fiberglass recycling because of windmills, but that technology isn't going to be mainstream for another 15 to 20 years. So there's going to be a pile of windmill blades that are going to be just waiting for the fiberglass recycling stream to really kick up.
There's a whole bunch of windmills along the I-80 corridor in Iowa, and it's crazy. You drive through there, and almost none of them are operating most of the time. I mean, I think it's a. I don't object. I don't object to it. I'm just not keen on it as something that we should depend upon. I mean, it's a nice add-on for the electrical companies, because they can kind of. I don't really understand how the grid works, but they can store it. And that's a nice way to supplement, but I don't think we should ever plan on windmills being our primary source of energy.
No, they're never going to be a primary source. Neither is solar. There is no power source that I think that can ever become our primary source. And I think we need a diverse power portfolio. which includes solar power, wind, hydro, nuclear, and start phasing out our dependence on coal and oil and natural gas. But we need to diversify our power portfolio, and that's the big thing that the United States is failing to do right now. But it shouldn't be done through the federal government creating mandates, and there shouldn't be any subsidies or incentivize any of this, and let the market choose what's right for what area. Because wind is not a good solution in North Carolina, except on the coast.
Yeah.
But in my area, no, it's not a good solution. But solar is. I have 24 panels on my house. My average electric bill is $24 a month. So I'm very happy that I have solar.
Sure.
But it's and methane power, Bob, that's also a really important part. Our landfills are emitting methane constantly. And let's tap into it and utilize it. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Okay, so Big P asks, and I have to answer this question because it's kind of a thing for me, asks, should we abolish the Electoral College? And he says yes, or she says yes, I don't know. Somebody says yes. I say no. And here's why. I live in a small state, a sparsely populated state, and if we shut down the Electoral College and abolish it, my state will mean absolutely nothing in the election, because you have the population centers in California and on the east coast of New York and down south in Texas, and Chicago, and that's where people are going to be paying attention. Right now, Nebraska, because we only have 5 electoral votes. I think New Hampshire only has 3, right? 3 or 4. Yeah. But because of that, we would normally get no attention, except that we have 1 purple district, and we actually split our electoral votes in Nebraska, and so we actually get presidential candidates coming to Omaha at least to see if they can get votes in Nebraska.
I happen to agree with you, Laura. I don't believe we should get rid of the Electoral College, but I acknowledge that the Electoral College is broken, and that's because we've frozen Congress at 435 members. So I think we need to drastically increase the size of our House of Representatives, which would increase the overall number of electors in the Electoral College, which would actually bring things back into line a little bit. Or actually would fix the Electoral College.
Well, the other option would be to have everybody do what Nebraska and Maine does and split your electoral votes by congressional district, because then it would then you'd have some Republican or Libertarian. You'd have pockets even in California of non-Democrats, and you'd have pockets in Nebraska, for instance, Omaha, where you have not Republicans. And so you'd have, because there are places around the country where you've got, a strong Republican or a strong Democrat in a red or blue state, the reverse colored state. So I think that that would be a good first step, but every state has to decide. Every state gets to decide how they're going to allocate their electoral votes, and so that would have to be done in every single state.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I took
no, absolutely. Hey, I love these sidebar comments. You know them. You know me.
Yeah.
President Biden nominated Gustavo Jopi. I'm probably slaughtering his last name, and I do apologize. The second Puerto Rican nominee of the U.S. Court of Appeals in what city?
I don't know.
Well,
Miami.
Miami would make sense. So it's probably.
I happen to know this one.
Okay.
Valerie, it's
Boston.
close to you. Yeah. Yep, it's Boston. I can't say his last name, but I know where it happened. But if, I'm just seeing if anyone has pronunciations posting in the comments, because I feel really bad whenever I slaughter people's names. California Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled a $12 billion plan to tackle the state's homeless crisis, wildfire prevention programs, or early childhood education.
$12 billion, probably homeless. There's we had Ovens on last week, the week before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You are right.
And wasn't Caitlyn Jenner saying that, that was one of her things, that people were leaving California and going to Phoenix or someplace?
It's the reason that this plan has been put together is because it's mandated by the federal courts. I mean, this is not the governor saying, I want to spend $12 billion, nor is it coming out of the goodness of his heart. This is because the federal courts have gone crazy and are mandating California to solve homelessness.
Good luck.
Yeah. Good luck indeed. Yeah. And here's my question. Okay. There are individuals out there that are homeless not because they're financially incapable, but because they wish to live a nomadic lifestyle. Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? Are you going to put them at gunpoint and force them into housing?
Did you see that lady who was living in some state park? Yeah. She was like, she just didn't want to do her life anymore. And she was like living in a tent in some state park. And she had been reported missing 6 months ago. She survived the winter. She was fine. Mm-hmm. And they were like, do you want to come home? And like, they gave her a mental health check. And she said, I just don't want to do this anymore. And she wanted to get back in her tent. And they were like, well, she's mentally fine and we can't force her to do anything. So they bought her a new tent. And that was it. But she was like a former professor and like some research analyst or something. A
significant portion of the homeless population are homeless not because they are destitute, but because they actually want that lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's $12 billion.
I don't understand it. I am not, I don't condone that lifestyle. But if it's the right lifestyle for you, mm-hmm. you should be free to choose it. If you want help, there should be private organizations that will give you help. But thinking that a federal government or a state government, in this case, mandated by the federal government, is going to force every homeless person into some sort of housing situation disturbs me in many, many levels.
Bankrupting the state.
Further bankrupting an already bankrupt state, let's be honest.
Yeah, and just not an unattainable goal, but I'm glad I don't live there.
True or false? In a statement this week, the CDC now recommends the Pfizer vaccine be given to 12 to 15-year-olds.
True.
Yeah.
I think that Pfizer could have determined that on their own, but
yeah, right.
Wonderful. The CDC decided that they agree with Pfizer. Yeah. Select all that apply. Republicans on Wednesday voted to oust Representative Liz Cheney from the House GOP leadership because of claims Cheney was distracting the Republican Party's message for 2022, newly released audio of Cheney admitting she wants to leave her position, or Cheney's criticism of Trump inciting the January 6th insurrection.
That was 1 and 3, I believe.
I would think so. Valerie, do you agree?
I agree. I actually, this was aside from that goofy story about the running back doing the Olympic trials. I do remember hearing this story this morning. Yes, those are right. But the person that they're replacing her with is a moderate, but never criticized Trump. And Liz Cheney's voting record was 93% of the time voting for Trump. And this new person that they're putting in for her place, so it was like something like 47%. It was like not even half. And
so are you saying that this is going to come to bite the GOP in the tuchus?
Not only that, but this is a cult.
Yes,
This is
yes. That's
I
the
would
biggest.
agree.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Is that this has become about the person of Trump and not about principles or anything else. And that's I mean, I saw this coming in 2016, but couldn't have even imagined in 2016 how bad it was going to be.
To this day, I cannot believe that a single individual has usurped an entire political party in the United States. I can't believe it.
Well, the crazy thing, it's not even just a political party. I mean, I could see it in a small party, but in the Republican Party, or the Democrat. I mean, either of those two parties, they're big. I can't imagine. I just can't imagine how that happens.
It's insane. Which state declared a state of emergency on Tuesday after a cyber attack left several states without fuel? South Carolina, New York, or Florida?
South Carolina.
I will say that South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, they declared everything on Sunday and Monday. The state that declared on Tuesday, everyone scratches their heads about because only a very small part of their state is actually affected by the Colonial Pipeline outage.
Florida?
New York? I don't know.
Florida.
I didn't even hear anything about Florida. I was looking at the percentages of effective being how much gas was affected in each state, because my family's in Virginia. My sister was like saying you have to wait like an hour to get gas at Costco.
So everything in Florida arrives by barge, unless if you're in on the Panhandle. That's it. Everything else comes in by barge. And everyone was wondering why Florida declared a state of emergency, but whatever. Police reform negotiations are hitting a roadblock over which of the following reasons: police use of force and de-escalation policies, how to hold police officers accountable, or police transparency.
How many do we pick?
One.
Oh.
Well,
there's two that I can think of that are logical, but I don't know.
Why is it hitting road? Why are they hitting roadblocks? I wouldn't think it would be hitting roadblocks because of transparency.
No.
Wouldn't be hitting roadblocks because of the police use of force and de-escalation policies.
Correct.
Right? So I guess it probably, I'm going to say it's because we don't know how to hold police officers accountable.
Because that means doing away with qualified immunity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of politicians that feel like if we get rid of qualified immunity for the cops, qualified immunity is going to start going away for politicians too. So
Good.
I think that is why politicians are having a hard time actually figuring out how to hold police officers accountable. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's correct. Yep. Look at that. Qualified immunity.
Yeah.
Right there. Oops. Did we want to talk more about qualified immunity?
No.
Okay.
We've talked about it before.
We've talked about it a lot before.
Close to the end here.
Yep. At a hearing Wednesday, former acting defense secretary Christopher Miller clashed with Representative Stephen Lynch, Democrat from Massachusetts, over which of the following: President Biden's planned withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan, the debate on fencing around the U.S. Capitol, or former Donald President Trump's role on January the 6th.
I do know.
To me, it could have been the first or the last.
I feel like It's almost got to be the first one, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
because why else would you be talking to the
defense. Yeah,
the defense secretary?
yeah.
But I don't
Yeah,
know.
but politicians love sticking their noses
I
where they don't
know.
belong. So that's why I'm still holding. I don't know. But first one is the most logical. I will
Yeah.
agree.
I think so too.
All right, let's go with the first one. And we have Jared, who's telling us Afghanistan.
You probably know.
There's a couple other people who are saying Afghanistan. So
Oh no, incorrect.
it is former President Donald Trump's role on January the 6th.
Huh.
Interesting. I wonder why they would clash both Democrats.
After the former Pentagon chief appeared to walk backwards from previous comments blaming Trump during a House Oversight and Reform Committee hearing.
Good. You say something, stick with it. You don't get to walk it.
You want your politicians to be consistent? Valerie, get with the program.
The CDC to lie to me. I'm asking for way too much.
But they're such sweet lies. They're so sweet.
Consistent politicians are about as common as a unicorn. They just don't happen very often. I mean, it's not that it's impossible, but it's really unlikely.
Yeah.
Kind of a magical creature.
But are they magically delicious?
I don't know.
Oh, different product. Never mind.
Yeah.
True or false? Arizona's new early voting bill could remove tens of thousands of voters from the state's early ballot mailing list. True or false?
Sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I think it's probably true.
Yeah.
According
to NPR, the new bill rebrands the state's permanent early voting list as an active early voting list, with a new provision that could allow the state to remove voters from the list if they don't use their early ballot at least once in 2 straight 2-year election cycles, and if they don't respond to a notice from county officials warning them of their removal.
I mean, that sounds right to me. When we moved to New Hampshire, I got a ballot from Arizona forwarded because I was on the permanent early voting, and I just threw it away. Could I have sent it in? Maybe. I don't know what would happen, but I didn't because I don't care and I'm not going to do fraud. But well after we moved, we got ballots here. So I think that's probably fine.
Yeah. Well, Jared says, look at that, Republicans purging voters again. I think everyone wants to have, or not everyone, but the R's and the D's, the old world parties, I think they both want to remove the other parties' voters.
Yeah.
It's just simple as that.
Yep.
They are tired of competing, and they want us to go. That both parties want to go down to a one-party system. Let's be honest.
Right. That's what they always say. Well, we can't do 3 parties. This is a 2-party country, but really they just want one. So
yes. So they feel like they're headed in the right direction with a 2-party system.
Yeah.
And why would we go in the opposite direction of what direction they want to head in? And so. Which means that our final score is 90. Woo!
Woo, that's
too shabby.
Yeah.
Congratulations, we win absolutely nothing. Oh, but that also brings us to the end of our broadcast, everyone. Do we have any special announcements or anything that we want to talk about here in our closing moments as we say goodnight?
No, I gotta go.
You guys are going to Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I'm going to graduation.
Congratulations to you.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Send our congratulations. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah. Do you have Krispy Kreme in your area?
We do. My son just got back. He and his friends drove up to Lincoln to get donuts.
If they bring their cap and gown
this
week, they get free donuts. They get a free dozen donuts.
Here it's just today. And so they went up there just today. And so they went up today with, I don't know. There were a whole list of things that they could bring. They could bring their cap and gown or a tassel or or like an announcement of the, or their student ID that showed that they were seniors and graduated or whatever. So it's like, well, okay, whatever. He says, do you care if I run up you care if I run up to Lincoln with my friends? I said, what are you going to do in Lincoln? It's about a half hour away. And he says, we're going to go get donuts. It's like, okay, whatever.
that is an expensive free
That's right.
dozen donuts right there.
But there were 3 friends. They were all in the same car, and I think they said they give them a dozen, right?
Yeah, it's a dozen each. They get a dozen each.
That may be dinner tonight if he didn't eat them all. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know what a dozen Krispy Kreme donuts are in your area, but in this area, they're like $15-16.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, that sounds so good. They don't have those here because all we have for Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh.
You know what? I will see if I can get Krispy Kreme tomorrow morning when I hit the road. How about that?
Gosh, you're gonna eat them all on the car ride.
No, I love donuts. Don't get me wrong. But I'm pretty good. So we'll see if I can find any fresh Krispy Kreme donuts on my way to Pennsylvania. And I look forward to seeing you and the kids this weekend. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna have a panel, you and me.
Yes. So we're going to be doing a Q&A from the audience, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was assured it would be a good time, so I said,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. It will be a good time because it's going to be you and me.
Well, have fun, you guys.
Thanks, you too.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And then I'm off for 1 or 2 weekends because my next one is Florida, I think. Or I don't know. Let me look at my calendar. So this weekend is Pennsylvania. Oh no! My next thing is Chicago on June 4th. Well, I'm flying on June 4th.
I'm going to Colorado next week.
Oh
so.
Yeah, nice, great time of year too for Colorado.
Yeah. Colorado is gorgeous. I wish I could go to Colorado. I just can't swing it.
Yeah.
Well,
because I'm going to be doing Chicago, then I've got Florida, and then I've got North Carolina 3 weekends in a row.
Nice.
And if I don't take at least 1 weekend off before that run, my marriage will be very short-lived.
Well, you can go to Colorado when we have our big 50th anniversary celebration in August. So
yes. And I also want to say a big thank you to Martin, who invited me to everything that Colorado is doing for that weekend. On Facebook alerts and all of that stuff. But unfortunately, I will be unable to attend, even though I would love to go because Colorado is always one heck of a party.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. All right.
Well, and on that note, I'm going to say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you for watching. Thank you to all of our wonderful viewers. And we will see you again next week for another episode of Libertarians at Large, where we're discussing the news and events going on around the country and the world. Have a great night.